Well, I'm blaming you. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like, no, that absolutely was his fault. We're live now anyway. So welcome to the stream, guys. This is Real Talk with Philip Dwyer. So Philip is here tonight. He's graced us with his presence. I'm absolutely delighted to have him here. Philip's an absolute legend. If you don't know who Philip Dwyer is by now, I'm sure you already do and should know that, because how dare you come onto the stream and not know who he is. So Philip is on tonight. He's going to be running an upcoming election. So that's exactly why I wanted to bring him on. Now, not only that, Philip's a grand fella, he is. He's great to talk to, he is. And he's a guy that's, he's very admirable. And to be honest with you, I think an awful lot of the things that you're saying, and I want to just point this out, a lot of people that are going around recording things, interactions with politicians and various different people with camera phones, I love to see it. And I think a massive amount of credit has to go towards Philip Dwyer. I mean, he was doing it during a seriously uncomfortable time to be going out interviewing people, asking questions. So, I mean, that's a massive thing to be doing. And I think it all started with you. And I think that an awful lot of the comments that we've been seeing recently from the mainstream media talking about citizen journalists, really, they've seemed really peeved about that. But you all know who they're talking about. They're talking about Philip Dwyer here. So welcome to the show again, Philip.
Ninja, how are you? Thanks a million. And yeah, look, I love your stream, and I love the crowd that you get in there as well, the comments and stuff, and the work you're doing as well is invaluable. So every little bit, I suppose, helps, and we just have to keep pushing and pushing. And the more people that push, the more pressure we're putting on. And I think the more scared they're getting. And as you said, citizen journalism, any kind of real journalism they're afraid of, any kind of real questions they're afraid of. So why wouldn't they be? Because they don't have any answers. It's like your one today, Kitty Holland. The Lord sent me her. I was passing by and I seen her on the canal, and I just parked up the car and I went over to her with the camera and asked her questions. Anyone who doesn't know Kitty Holland, she's an Irish Times so-called journalist who's been writing absolute horror stuff about Ireland and immigration, gaslighting people, slandering Irish people, concerned Irish people. But when the camera went on her today, it's on my Twitter if you want to see it. She does their usual, turns her back and walks away and goes onto her phone. She's probably ringing her therapist now or whatever. She doesn't she doesn't know what to say all of a sudden. So yeah, look, I mean, and it's really important. I think these journalists have a huge part to play in what's had a huge part to play in what's gone on over the last number of years. I don't even know how many years, but the corruption levels, I think John Waters would have noticed it back in his day when he was a journalist, a mainstream journalist, how the corruption set in there. You just couldn't say what you wanted to say. Everything was editors were censoring articles left, right, and center, and all of a sudden that kicked in. So these people, it's very important, I think, to call them out and let everybody know the harm and the damage that they're actually doing. And yeah, it's great in a way that it killed them to see somebody like myself, former postman, just woke up one day and said, hold on a second, we don't have any journalism in this country. Nobody is asking any real questions. And I felt someone has to do this. Like, somebody has to go over to these people. It's too serious. It's too egregious what they're doing to the country. And yeah, I know there's a lot of people actually doing it. They're plucking up the courage, and it's gas when they do it. And they probably all agree the same thing. They do it a couple of times, and it just becomes much easier. And you're just speaking truths to these guys. You're asking them you're calling out their lies. Yeah, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, I suppose. But anyway, thanks, yeah, for the kind words, Ninja.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I mean, like, just what you're saying there, I was talking about the journalist and Kitty Holland, indeed, like, she's involved in a legal case now with John Waters, so like, that's someone that you were talking about there just a minute ago. And it's pretty interesting stuff, when the media don't get their way, they get very aggressive. And that's what I've seen throughout all of the articles that I've seen. That's my opinion, of course. And as you said there, you see these people in person. And I mean, you've encountered loads of the media at this stage, and they all know who you are because they all talk about you, they all write about you, but they won't ever speak to you. And I think that, again, like that, they might be saying, and I think, to be honest with you, lacking the human side of things, where if they do speak to you, they might be like, well, this guy might be right, or I might be on side with some of the points he's making. And I think it was even there not too long ago, you were down on Parnell Street and one of the mainstream journalists was talking to you, and like, I mean, you absolutely pieced this guy up. He didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? It was like watching Mike Tyson in his prime. He was just like, you're relying haymaker after haymaker. And I think by the end of it, the guy was sort of like, I actually really agree with this fella, so we better move away now at this stage, you know. And I think that that's effective. And I think, like you're saying, when people move around the place and they see journalists, like, I think that time has come to an end now where people are going, that's your man over there. Oh yeah, he's a bit of this, he's a bit of that. People are going over and they're like, here, listen, you're at the been writing about people calling people far right here for wanting borders here in this country, for wanting safe areas that they live in. Like, you know, people are very upset about these things, and rightfully so. I think, like you said, I think you do a very I think you do a very good job at showing people how serious these things are. I think, like, a lot of people think this is going to just blow over and it's going to be all right in 10 or 15 years. Like, where we're at right now is a position that you're going to feel it, your children are going to feel it, your grandchildren are going to feel it, they're going to feel like a stranger in their own country. Is that the sort of futures that you want for them? I don't think that that's a positive future. And I also don't think that the likes of the crime rates that are skyrocketing at the moment are positive. I don't think people, fellas in particular, from different countries that have been dropped in here, just dropped on people's areas, living around, hanging around in tents is a good thing. I don't think that's positive whatsoever. I think an awful lot of people share those feelings and thoughts, and think, you know, people like yourself there is giving people a voice, which is hugely important. And I think, like, that when you were on YouTube, like, it was a huge amount of people that were following you, and again through the streams, and that's super important, you know. And that comes to the next point. Then you've encountered all of these mainstream media journalists, and now you're running an upcoming election. So that's what we wanted to talk to you about here tonight, because over the next couple of weeks, I want to be bringing people on and talking to them for different areas and where they're running and what it took to run, because there might be someone here in the chat that's like, so I feel the same way as these fellas. I think I might run myself. So would you fill us in on what's going on? Because I believe you've joined the party as well in the meantime as well, Phil. Last time we chat was December, it was, yeah.
All right, yeah. So, yeah, look, I mean, I was in two minds for a good while, and I had a couple of people coming to me, and, you know, people that I have great respect for, and I listen to their opinions and that, and they said, listen, you should run. And I'd be like, the point is that elections come around very rarely, you know, so rarely that, you know, and we're in such an egregious position here now in this country, with the levels of corruption and tyranny, like, it's off the charts. We have this opportunity now to stand, and we need to try to stand up and take it. I'd rather not be running. I'd rather be, you know, as I was saying, I'd rather not be doing citizen journalism, and I'd rather be out golfing with my mates, and, you know, I'm having a normal job, 9 to 5 job or whatever it is. But it's just not possible right now, and it feels that I have a duty to run, and I have a duty to do what I'm doing. Because it isn't, and people, you were saying earlier, I mean, people look at what I'm doing. Some people do, and they, you know, they think it's kind of sometimes light entertainment, and there's a bit of sarcasm, like your own show. You have to have a bit of, you know, a bit of sarcasm, a bit of crack, take the piss out of certain people when they need to be taking the piss out of. But at the same time, it's really serious what's going on here and what we're trying to do. And I'll never leave the position of having to push for the people responsible for the crimes against this country and this nation have to be brought to justice, and they have to be paid for the crimes that they're after committing at some point. And as long as I'm still alive, I'll be pushing for that myself. So, but it is very serious. And I joined Ireland First then with Derek Bly's party. Me and Derek have been great friends since I think the first day I met Derek, he went up the mountains in the Men of Ireland trek on crutches. Right, we went up, we carried him up, and it kind of encapsulated the spirit of what I was trying to achieve with that Men of Ireland trek. It was to get men together who would be prepared to be do some activism and stand up and be counted, and stand up against this in a peaceful way. So Derek decided to set up the party, and then I decided to join the party. And then it was, you know, it was a few months back anyway, I had a chat with Derek, and I said, look, Derek, you're a leader of a party. I have a big profile now. I said, yeah, I think we should run. So, and then we have Alico McGuire, she's running in North, West and Midlands. So it's something I feel like we have to give it a try. We have to try to get into the belly of the beast, and start to ruffle feathers, start to question all the absurdities that are being foisted upon us, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in local elections. And I'm going in Europe and the local elections. I'm going in Tala Central with Suzanne Delaney, who gave a fantastic speech there on the 6th of May. Yeah. she's running there alongside me as an independent. So, you know, we're all of the same, you know, it's more or less the same views about what's going on. And we'll have, you know, a number of seats in the locals there to fight for. And then in Europe, then, yeah, I'm running in Dublin. So, I mean, and the important thing I say to everybody, please, please, please get out there and register. Get online, check the register.ie, and put your name on the ballot sheet there, and get out and vote. So, as I said, if you know, a lot of our problems are coming from Europe, Ninja, I believe, and Europe has been overall very detrimental to us. And I have to laugh. You hear people, if you hear people you talk about Europe, and the first thing they'll say to you is, "Oh, sure, they gave us all the roads and the motorways. You know, they built all those, so they gave us whatever, you know, 8 or 9 billion or something we got for these so-called motorways." But then, you know, it was only later on then we all realised that hold on, we're after giving away our fisheries, right? So, you know, back 10 years ago, I think it had cost us about 200 billion in loss of fisheries, you know, from being in the EU. And God knows what that figure is now. It must be up to maybe 210, 220 billion of our fisheries has just been hoovered up by other European countries, boats, Holland off the west coast, Dutch boats off the west coast, hoovering up mackerel, and these big super tankers, factory ships, and all over Ireland we have lost so many fishing boats. Fishermen have left the industry because it's just not viable for them. And I think we're only allowed to claim about 14 to 15% of our fisheries off our own waters. And that was a big one as well. So, and now we're kind of a net contributor to Europe. And, you know, to me, Europe has become this massive communist super state, you know, with this excessive control over its citizens. That I don't think really any country really voted for that, knowingly anyway, and that when we went in there, we were going in there as a trading partnerships, you know, back in '73, which is, you know, perfect. Yeah, let's all set up these trading agreements and let's help each other out. But now it's become this ideological monster that's come in, and it's telling us what we can say now and can't say. Like they've hate speech laws in many countries in Europe, trying to bring them in here. And all this draconian madness, the mass immigration, open borders, is all mainly down to European policy. We have an option to get out of the European migration policy. We don't have to go along with any of it if we feel we don't need to. And without penalty, ourselves and Denmark. And that, I mean, if it was down to me, that would be activated instantaneously, straight away. We would be removing ourselves from all these migration policies from the EU. So, there's, and on top of that, the LGBT madness that they're pushing in the European Union as well. So, the list is endless. You could go on. And as I said to people, you don't have to be an expert on EU regulations to go into that parliament and start asking questions and start to expose the stuff that's detrimental to Ireland. I don't believe anyway. And I think, as I said, there's plenty of good people in our movement that are highly qualified, highly educated in all the spheres of let's say, finance and law and EU law and all philosophy, history. There's plenty there, and plenty of them are actually already offering to help. I mean, and people are very optimistic. You know, you have to be optimistic when it comes to elections. It's time for a bit of self-promotion. I'm not big into that, but I mean, it has to be done, I suppose. We have to self-promote ourselves, and we have to kind of ask for a few quid, I suppose, at the end of the day as well. Because these things can't happen without a bit of finance, you know what I mean? And we're up to now, we're basically doing it off our mobile phones and our laptops. I'm sitting here in front of a laptop looks like a prison cell in the Midlands somewhere. But
I was wondering if you were reporting with Enoch Book there this evening. I wasn't sure. Yeah,
Enoch, come here for a minute. But
you looked holed up there like a man down in Colombia, you know.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, and that's why, I mean, we're running an Ireland first. Is like, you know, any Irish Nationalist party that says Irish people have to come first in its own country, and no apologies for that. And, you know, the amount of abuse now at this stage that Irish people have undergone in the last just 5 years alone, I mean, and you and me know, your listeners, the lads in the chat know, it's gone off the charts. It's time for it to stop. But the only way we're going to make it stop is that we get out there and we vote. And anyone there as well who's listening who wants to come out and help me canvass, you're more than welcome. Give me an email at itsokaytobeirish@protonmail.com, all small letters. Send me your number and your name, and I'll get someone. We'll get a phone call to you, and we'll put you in a group, a WhatsApp group, and for canvassers, and we'll be delighted to get your help. So, but it can't happen on its own. It's not a fairy godmother waving a wand. It's people like yourself and myself getting out there, getting the message spread, getting people to know what's going on. And while I was in the canal there, the Grand Canal there, Mount Street today. And I just happened to meet a guy who was a local shopkeeper, and he was sitting at the canal, and I just said, "How are you?" And I said, "What do you think of what's going on here?" You know. So he told me the circumstances. So for the last 6 weeks, that guy has had tents. He comes into work to open a shop, and there's tents pitched on his doorstep. You know, for the last 6 weeks. Not to mention what's going on across the road. So how you're meant to conduct your business with that kind of, with a refugee camp just pitched outside your business, you know, it's nearly next to impossible. But he said, look, he survived and whatever else, but he's wide awake now. He wasn't he's privately educated guy from, you know, South County Dublin, well, leafy suburb in South County Dublin, and he's saying that now he knows what's going on. He knows he's been hoodwinked for the last few years. It's arrived at his doorstep. And it's a very quick, rude awakening when it does happen to you. So there's lots of people in his circles that are coming around to it as well. And he's saying, and this is what I think is really important, you know, to get these votes, to get these people to understand that they have to, like I'm talking about the middle 60% of the ordinary person on the street, the middle class guy and woman, that we have to get into them and come across with a rational point of view. We come across as rational people and make rational points and just keep exposing what's going on in a rational way. And I think that's going to win us a lot of votes as well if we do that. There's no point in going on screaming and roaring and shouting at people. It doesn't work. It's never really worked for me. People ask me how I keep the cool when I'm out and about, but it's like I get people, these people who make ages of themselves are just go on like lunatics and talk nonsense about what's happening in the country. This is what I want to see of them. They just give the people the option to see the nonsense and the madness that from the people who are actually in charge of the country or run the country. That's enough. You don't have to scream and shout. Ask them rational questions. Try never to abuse anyone back if they call you names. When they're calling you names, they lose the argument, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a serious ballot here, a serious vote here against the government. I think the latest poll I've seen there now that's come out is that the actual independents now have overtaken Sinn Féin as the biggest party. I forget which poll. I think it was the Journal. It could have been the Journal.ie, the Journal Liar.ie. So if that's coming from them, I can imagine that figure is probably, you know, even a higher percentage of people are going to vote independent now on nationalist parties. So there's times of changing, and I think that the referendum, as we all know, the referendum was major. I mean, a major protest vote against this government, in my opinion. And it's something that surprised most of us. I didn't think we'd win it by that much. I did think we were going to win. The no vote was going to win, because when I was looking at a lot of stuff that Andy Heasman and Ross Lahive were doing around, they went to about 100 towns a couple of weeks before the referendum, and the word on the street that they were getting from people, average people they were meeting, was saying no, you know, they were going to vote no. There's a massive hatred out there now, I think, among a lot of people for this government, especially when you see what happened in Newtownmountkennedy. You seen what happened in even over the last week, the amount of attempted child abductions, child sexual assault, the crime. It's just perpetrated by foreigners, allegedly. But we know these people they're on camera. We know they've been caught maybe luckily red-handed. and no one has been successful in abducting the child or making the child disappear that I'm aware of. But I mean, people now are just getting so angry and pissed off with this, and it's a worry too. Nobody wants to see violence. Nobody wants to see people having to take the law into their own hands. But if somebody comes up and tries to abduct a child in broad daylight in the middle of the street, I mean, and especially down around Ringsend or Pearse Street, you're a lucky man if you're even going to survive, make it out alive. Never mind getting a few slaps down around Grand Canal Harbour there, like, you know what I mean? So, as I said, these things are they're just going to make people more angry. They're going to make them, if they feel that they have no other choice, they will take the law into their own hands. And as I said, me and you, I don't condone that. I don't condone criminality. But as I said, they keep pushing and pushing people and bringing in these unknowns, these guys that are economic immigrants, let's call them. And they're just going to it's going to get worse and worse. And I don't know. I think some part of me thinks they want some violence. They want to be able to maybe hit back hard at certain perpetrators or people who do get so angry that they commit crimes or they hit back and break the law or whatever. Part of me thinks that as well. But look, it all has to come to an end, and to make it come to an end, you're going to have to vote for the right people. Now is the time. There's no point in us all talking about it now. Can you hear me there, Ninja? I don't know if I'm on screen or if I'm not, or if Ninja has lost connection. Can anybody put into the chat if they can hear me or... I can't see the chat at the moment, folks. Okay, I think I can be heard, can I? Yeah. Can't hear Ninja. Okay, keep going. All right. Ninja, I'm taking over your stream there, yeah? So I might read out some of the comments here. I can only see them on my phone, but yeah. Imelda Tobin, David Galligan. Right stuff. Liz Pepper is in there. Yeah, people, you can hear me loud and clear. Yeah, Ninja must have had a malfunction. But yeah, so everybody here, guys, in the chat, I mean, it's great. There's some real stalwarts, and I generally look. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. They
super.
They were saying they lost you. I was okay. Yeah.
So what's funny is, and I said this on the Gavin Pepper stream that I did, I can see the Wi-Fi signal popping up. And everybody always says, "Oh, you've got the Burger King Wi-Fi." The Wi-Fi is actually top of the range, so they have no joke. And other streams have worked not a bother. The Gavin Pepper stream and this one, which is obviously a big one, we've got 244 people in here now at the moment listening to it. I've no doubt in my mind, by the way, just as anyone in YouTube land that's out there or whoever else it is that interferes with the streams, I know you're doing it. It's very clear, it's very obvious, and it's clear to see from the videos that are put out on the channel with the amount of likes that are being obtained by the videos and the amount of shares as well too, and the views that don't actually link up with that, because I can see mainstream news videos that get out there, they get 12 likes and they've got 10,000 views. It's nonsense. Okay, so I can see that. I know that you're doing it. It's no problem at all to me. It's no bother. And this is the type of fight that Philip is talking about, and he's explaining. This is what we're up against here. Again, I'm just some guy that's after coming onto YouTube, giving my thoughts and opinions, and this is the sort of treatment that you get because these journalists and mainstream media companies do not want this. They do not want a guy like Philip Dwyer. And luckily enough, I had the owl blower out on the side there, so I was listening to what you were saying there, Philip. You're absolutely bang on with what you're saying there with regards to the migration into the country and all the incidents that have occurred here in this country. It's getting out of hand now at this stage of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I mean, I've got children, I've got grandchildren. You know, it's like, you know, it's, you don't want your grandchildren like living in this dystopian hell. They'd be prisoners in their own houses. They won't be able to be gated communities. You know what I mean? It'll be South Africa 2.0. And I actually bumped into a guy on the street there. I was finishing up. I was putting my gear in the car in Newtownmountkennedy after doing the Sunday live stream, I think it was. And he just stopped me and asked for directions or something. But he, South African guy, South African accent, you know. And he was coming over here to live. He got a job here and he was coming here to live. But the stuff he was telling me, like, I said, what's it like over there? Like, you know, and he says, like, yeah, he used to go to sleep with a gun under his pillow, you know? And I said, I met a guy there years ago from South Africa, maybe 10, 15 years ago, came over from South Africa. And he was telling us he actually shot a guy who was trying to hijack his car. So people are going around there, they're carrying weapons to defend themselves, especially the white people. And this guy said to me then, and I told him this, he says, I had to shoot a fella as well, you know, in self-defense. And it's like, this place is like, it's going the direction of South Africa. White people are being murdered over in South Africa. White people now in Ireland are being, this diversity and inclusion stuff. But this is all anti-white person, all that stuff. That's what that translates into, you know. Let's have more brown people in the Dáil, according to Leo Varadkar. We need more brown people in the judiciary and all of this. Like, what's all that about? You get into the judiciary if you're on merit, if you're good enough and you pass your exams and you perform to the standards, to a good standard or whatever, and you rise through the ranks, not because you're brown. Do you know what I mean? But this is where it's all taken us. It's taken us into this. I can't see it lasting. It's gone so bizarre. Like this thing with, you know, the gender ideology stuff and all of this. I must put this out soon. This interview I did with Paul Connolly. You know, he was very persuasive, I must say. People haven't heard this before, about wanting to tell us that he was going to give us he wanted to know where we were coming from. He was going to give us a fair shake. And he was assuring us, like, you know, and I was like, of course, we didn't trust him as far as we throw him. But so the deal was that we record everything, you know. But it didn't take long. I mean, it took 10 minutes less of a conversation. He was believing in his head that he was middle of the road, you know what I mean, and all of this. The conversation, the stuff that I was getting him to say, and it was coming out of his mouth. And by the time the first interview was over an hour long. And what did you think of that, Phil? He said, and I said, Jesus, you know, Paul, you're as woke as fuck. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't believe him that he was so left wing in his ideologies and his looking at me. I mean, I found it really enjoyable. I just kept laughing at his stupid questions and saying, yeah, Paul, you really believe like a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man kind of thing, you know? And, you know, he said, you know, but that's offensive, Phil, to somebody. Yeah, well, get a helmet. Let them get a helmet. Like, it's just a fact of life. But it's these guys. And then it turned out then the second interview he did, it was really kind of hostile. It was really kind of looking for gotcha moments. He was dragging out videos of me getting out of the taxi in a night after a New Year's Eve night when I had a little disagreement with a taxi driver who claimed to be Muslim. And he's saying, you know, you hurt this. Like, I hurt this guy's feelings. He's a Muslim. And I said, well, Paul, what do you want? Do you want, like, Sharia law in Ireland? Do you want, you know, women to be stoned to death for adultery? Or do you want gay men to be thrown off buildings? Like, you know, but they don't all believe in that. Well, I'm sorry, but Islam if you're a Muslim and you believe in the Quran and everything else, you do actually believe that. So, yeah, I mean, I was taking them on. And so, yeah, and I stand over every word I said in that video at 2:00 on New Year's Eve, coming home after a night out, you know. 100% I stand over every word in it. But he was trying out this and another video from 3 or 4 years back about me over an LGBT flag that was in James's hospital. I was in there visiting my dad, who was nearly at the end of his life. And all the hospital, you see coming out of hospital is a big, it's what that got to do with healthcare. Why hospitals promoting that ideology, that transgender stuff, that LGBT stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's not the hospital's place to do it. But he was trying to make me look bad, and this is causing offense and all this. And I'm like, well, Paul, I don't really care, to be honest with you, who offends.
That's definitely what the media do. And like you're saying, they pull out those videos, which is why they don't like those videos circulating of them and politicians in general when they've been up to no good. And, I think that's what's important. And like you're saying, to give as good as you get there with these people, like, I mean, that's important. Like if you're supporting Palestine, okay, that's great. So what you're doing is you're supporting a regime then of people that are following a certain religion, and that has question marks around that as well. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, that's another one. I mean, they're good.
Lots of extremists. Yeah,
lots of. And what's hilarious to me is the Palestine crowd then as well. Like a lot of the left have been entrapped by them anyway. But they all say Palestine for the Palestinians, and like, okay, yeah, but Ireland for the Irish, and they go, that's racist, and you're going, what? And then I just say, you know what, just strap up, tool up, and head on over there to Palestine and do what you need to do, because you're no use here to me. Yeah. But that's just my view, that's just my view. You were talking about South Africa there, for example, and I can tell you there as well, like, I'm sure you're familiar with it as well too, your man Julius Malema or whatever way they want to say it. And I mean, he's chanting all sorts of chants and he's encouraging them as well. So like these types of things that are happening in South Africa, and they're happening all across Africa, by the way, when you're important people with those ways of lives and that way of thinking, they are not going to adapt to your way of thinking. And that's what we've seen for the last decade or so, where you're looking at people here in this country that have arrived to this country. Some have assimilated, sure, but they should not be the supermajority of this country. Ireland should be a supermajority of Irish people, the same way that Nigeria should be a supermajority of Nigerian people, and China be a supermajority of Chinese people. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And when you have people then arriving into this place, then like you're seeing on the likes of Virgin Media there, where they're out saying people in Ireland have white privilege, like you've rocked up to the wrong country if you want to run around saying those types of things. And we've imported an awful lot of Americanisms here into this country, which has caused a lot of problems. I mean, as you're saying there, you've got the healthcare system that is promoting the likes of the rainbow flag. I think it's pretty interesting that in Russia they've been designated a terrorist organization. I think that's a pretty interesting situation there. And in China beforehand, of course, you couldn't say anything about the flu that came from there at all. That was racist as well. But those people actually in China, they actually believe that the rainbow stuff there is a mental illness, which is also quite interesting that nobody ever wants to talk about that one. But when we're talking about it here in this country and seeing what we're seeing, as you're saying, it's been promoted within hospitals, it's been promoted outside churches. I mean, it's the modern day pirate flag, if you're asking me. And what it does is it actually then is showing you that these institutions are captured and they are going to promote a way of life and a lifestyle that is, again, it just very simply brings it back to what the forum are looking to do. And if you don't know who the forum is, I'm sure you'll get wide to them fairly soon. They're just looking to just cull and just bring the population down. Phil, as well as I do, people that parents, there was 8, 9, 12 maybe in the family. You're talking to people now and they're like, I don't want kids. And you're like, are you insane? Are you insane? I was talking to a friend of mine only last week, the week before, and Eastern European, and he was talking about the fact that there was, 16 Roma, I think, that were living beside him. He was saying mother, father, 14 kids. And I'm like, I know fellas that are out there now that are not, they're not having kids. They're just like, no, I'm not interested in it. And I'm going, that is mental to me. It's absolutely unbelievable.
And that translates, that 14 kids, Ninja, translates into whatever, is it 220 quid a month per kid?
Yeah, a lot of money there.
Yeah. There's also I bumped into a guy there. He works in the Department of Social Welfare. He supports my channel. He watches me and everything else. Now, what he told me, and it has to be come across as a credible source, right? Obviously no names mentioned, but whatever. There are instances inside in social welfare where clerks and clerical staff have come across cases where the same individual is applying for social welfare on 4 or 5 different PPS numbers. And he said, and I said, what are they doing about it? And he said, nothing. They're bringing the cases to their higher ups, to their senior managers or whatever, and they're being told to forget about them and let them go. That's what this is what came from social welfare. That's just, now, can you imagine that somebody rocks in here, gets 4 or 5 PPS numbers, nobody is going to collar him on this. He walks into 4 or 5 different post offices and collects 800 or 900 quid a week off the social welfare. It's absolutely outrageous stuff. I've no reason not to believe this guy, but it's like he said, and the majority of the staff that work in social welfare in this country see it all, and they are sick and tired of it. And of course, any sign of opening your mouth, they'll be down on you like a ton of bricks, and you'd be gone. You'd be out of a job.
That's the thing that I explain to an awful lot of people. And like, I've got a lot of people that reach out to you that are in their 50s, 60s, and stuff like that. And some people retired then as well. And they're like, can't understand why people don't speak up. And it's exactly what Philip is saying there as well. Like, a lot of these jobs now have been like, they are wanting to remove you for even having an opinion that is alternative to whatever the groupthink is in that area. I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. And people reach out to me all the time that feel in totally different ways, and they say like I'm sitting in a room full of morons that are all chatting absolute nonsense here and talking about the replacement of this country and having a laugh about it. And they have to sit there and say nothing because they're like, well, if I put myself out here, like, I'm in trouble or I'm going to be removed or whatever like that for saying something that wasn't, anyway controversial 20 years ago. I mean, everyone knew that, Hour on the Vein was something that was incredibly important and should be said. You should be saying prayers and stuff like, these things were just fundamental things that happened when you were a young fella. And now they're saying, oh, we don't know about this now. Now you've got creeps out there that are LARPing as teachers with toenails that are painted, fellas running around like that are saying religion shouldn't be in schools at all. It's absolutely unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? You've got these individuals running around, and it really does make me feel very uncomfortable about what these people are up to and what they have planned. And I think what we are seeing right now is the inevitable pushback where people are saying, right, we're not having this. They've seen what's happened in America. They've seen what's happened in the UK. They've seen what's happened across Europe, and it's now occurring here. But it seems to be a different melting pot here, and I think it all comes back down to the vote then as well, like you're saying, Phil. Like, it really is important. And I love the fact that, it's a channeling that energy into the vote and into running for elections, because I say to people all the time, you can stand on the side of a road and argue with a guard all day long, and it's just some clown in a uniform. But you should be the person that's ordering the clown around to do what they need to be doing, okay? And that's how you do it, is through elections, to get in there to then control that system. And that's what it's about. You need to rewire the system now. People need to get in there and they need to change things up about it. And I'd like to see as many independents and people from different parties like Gordon Forrest there and the Irish Freedom Party that are doing good work, that are running forward to these elections now. And guys like yourself do have these people nervous. And I think it's a very exciting time from that point of view. And like you said, elections don't come around here very often. So to make a big difference is important right now. And I think the choice to go to Europe is an interesting one. So will you talk a little bit about that? Why Europe versus to run for a TD? Like, what was the thinking there? Or, what is the ultimate plan as such then when you go to Europe, if you are elected there?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, as a political party, with Derek as the leader and Alico she's the deputy leader. I am a member, I have a presence now and people know who I am. It makes sense to just run for election for whenever they come up, and we'll see where it takes us. You know what I mean? We don't know. I mean, if you had said it to me 4 or 5 weeks ago, I would have said, sure, look, we'll just run and see how the voters go. But now it's a totally different ballgame. Post that referendum now, post all the Newtownmountkennedys, post all the crime and the child abductions and everything else, that every day I think that there are more people waking up and more people are going to register and vote for independents and nationalist parties. So in Europe, I mean, yeah, we have to go in. I mean, Europe is the belly of the beast. I mean, Europe is, to me, the most corrupt of the organizations, them and the UN and the World Health Organization, and they're basically cultural Marxist communist entities, and Europe is there. So on top of that, there's going to be, in my opinion, a good swing to the right wing in these elections. So you're going to have a lot more MEPs that will get elected from right-wing parties all over Europe. And we can form major alliances there to actually reverse all the madness that's been imposed on Europe. Rationalize immigration and make sure that it's not going to destroy the individual nation states that are there for donkey's years, thousands of years, and help enforce deportations, get the people out who are in the country illegally, show some strength. Use your security forces, use your army if you have to, use your police, create border forces there that will stop the influx of and then of course stop the incentives of the welfare system to come in. Stop giving the free stuff to these people. The best way you can help any country, any individual, is to help them in their own country and help them build a better country of their own, a nation for themselves. We all did it back in the day. It took years, it took hundreds, thousands of years to build up our countries, our civilizations. You look at all the wonderful architecture around these cities and places like Prague and Warsaw, Budapest, Paris, all the wonderful architecture, all the wonderful civilizations, different beautiful nations. Everyone had their own way of living. All it takes is a bit of respect. Don't get me started on these wars that happened over the last 4 years, because I have my own thoughts on the reasons for these wars to be started. We're not because the Brits didn't like the Germans and the Germans didn't like the Brits. There's plenty of reasons. We can all look into ourselves, and I can't say it on this channel, but it's like we need to look into the history of all of that, and why we can't. There's no reason why we can't all live peacefully together as nations, trade together, respect each other's cultures, and understand that if you bring in the third world into your society, you will become the third world. It's just a fact of life. And then you have so many billions of people around the world, whatever it is, 8 billion people now, maybe 6 billion of those are living in poverty. You're not going to be able to fix that by bringing in over their best people. It's very selfish. Bringing over which unfortunately now their best people have come already, but it's like now we're getting the dregs, and we don't know who we're getting basically. But if you take good, hard-working people out of a society that needs them, if you take a doctor out of Egypt or Palestine or whatever, these first, second world countries, that's how selfish can you get? While we're sending our own away because the conditions that we're giving them aren't plausible for them. They're not able to build house or buy a house, or build their own house if they're from down the country or whatever. It's just not viable for them. So the better option for them is to go to another country where their services and their skills are appreciated more, and life is more sustainable for them, and it's more enjoyable, and they can have better education for the kids, better income or whatever, and cheaper housing. What are we doing here in Europe? We're just opening the floodgates. And one of the main things, it has to be like Bill Clinton used to say years ago when he was running for office, the wonderful Bill Clinton, it's the economy stupid. Well, I'd say in Ireland it's immigration stupid. That's the real reason we're having most of our problems in this country. If we fix immigration, everything else will be fixed quite easily after that. Sorry.
No, not at all. No, I mean, that's why I have you on. I have you on to talk. And I mean, the thing is, like, when I do the interviews, I always say to people that I'm like, I'm very happy to listen and I'm bringing you on, so it's absolutely not me apologizing at all. What's hilarious though is and I mean, it's not hilarious, but I mean, it just goes to show you how ridiculous things are with the immigration policy, where you have people in tents now knocking around places and being given free houses, and then they're being built accommodations then in various different parts around Ireland. Like, what was it, only last month or the month beforehand, there was a guy that was living in Tipperary, correct me if I'm mistaken, who put a log cabin on his own land and was told he had to take it down. And now they want to bring him to court, they want to put him into prison for the whole lot. And you're looking at it and going, like, this is nonsense stuff. I seen not too long ago as well, there was a woman, I think it was in Cork, if I remember correctly, who had built a wall around her property, and they told her, no, council says pull that down. And you're looking at it going like, are you not seeing what's going on around the place here, and the illegality that's going on with people running into the country not being checked whatsoever? It seems to be anyway. Because look, I mean, I'd love for Gardaí to be doing a 24-hour live stream out there on YouTube or something, saying, oh, look at us here checking the passports, and anyone coming off it is going back on the plane or on a rubber dinghy and on their way out. But to me, those are very much so linked. I mean, the immigration issue is one that we've been dealing with for a very long time. And I think it took people a long time to come around to the fact that is what's causing a number of other problems. It's causing the crime issue, because you're bringing people in that they don't have the same way of thinking that you do. They don't have the same way of life that you do. And they won't think nothing about, I mean, I'm telling you, I have friends of mine that are from different places. And there's one guy in particular, Eastern European, and this guy thinks so differently to us. This chap is a nice fella. Now, he's nice to me, but he's ruthless. And I mean ruthless. Like, he said things to me, and I'm like, wow, very interesting. Now, nothing illegal, of course, but he's just ruthless, allegedly, respectfully on that one. But when
like I think it's sorry, it's been our greatest problem, in my opinion, is our niceness. Our political correctness. I mean, we've been just walked on and trampled on, and we've been always known around the world. Oh, the Irish are great. They're Céad Míle Fáilte and everything else. And we get over here, and they go into pubs. Everyone talks to each other, and everyone's real nice. Everything else, right? Wasn't it a prime? Why wouldn't we be a prime target for the insidious, evil people who are running and again, follow the money, folk who benefits, who are running things behind the scenes, behind the curtain. We would be so easy to take advantage of, and they have taken advantage of that niceness. And I keep meeting people, and I'm saying to myself, I wish these people stop being nice and stop trying to be so diplomatic because we're actually countering evil, in my opinion. So if people just stop being nice about it and call it for what it is, and say, no, you're not putting that bullshit into my child's head in school, okay? And if you do, I'll be taking you to court, or I'll take actions against you. Okay, now that's it. End the story. No negotiation. I don't want the critical race theory telling my child that he enslaved black people, or we enslaved black, and then so we all should be apologetic to black people or whatever back in the day. I don't want any of that nonsense in my child's head. I don't want any medical advice for you, and that's it. And don't be nice about it. And I really wish people now, because it's been taken advantage, it's been abused, our kindness. Now, there's nothing wrong with being kind, but by God, I mean, it's gone way too far now, way out of control, and just people get common sense about it. Like, just get sense. You don't have to be. If you're not being nice, that doesn't mean you have to be abusive either. You just don't be nice. You just call it what it is, and don't ever compromise with evil. That's the way I look at things. Not when it's something that's evil, something that's corrupt in a child's mind. That is evil in my book, and there's no other way around.
What I think is funny about it, and what you're saying there, Phil, I absolutely agree with. You've got people that are. Sorry, Phil, the thing was just jumping back and forth there. I don't know whether you can hear me there.
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you, Grant.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Am I good? Am I okay? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Grant. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's grand. I knew that they'd be doing some sort of the stream. They would anyway. But like you're saying there, the kindness aspect of
can't hear you now, Ninja.
Things is, I think what's very funny.
You just
say that again.
You just went in and out there for a couple of seconds.
Am I breaking up?
Tiny bit, yeah. You're okay now.
Am I back now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can see the thing hopping around here like a lunatic.
There looked to be no crack if there wasn't a few glitches. Okay, can you hear me all right? Is it Ninja's side that's giving the trouble? Someone give me a comment there. Air only. Sheepdog is in there as well. Okay, so it looks like Ninja is gone again. Ninja's breaking up. Yeah. Powers that be, don't want them speaking. Yeah, Steve Dixon, 150 billion annually in human trafficking. It's a money racket, yeah, absolutely. People and that's what annoys me about guards. Thanks, guys. I'm 5x5. But that's what annoys me about the guards here and the Newtownmountkennedy and all of this as well. And one or two people say, well, you can't blame them this, and you can, but I actually do. It's gone so egregious, as I keep saying. I'm using that word a lot tonight, but it is gone so bad that it is time for guards now to throw down their caps or whatever they have to do, and say no and refuse to carry out these instructions and involve themselves in this people trafficking scam. People trafficking is illegal. It's against the law. To move a human being from one place to another for the benefit of money is called people trafficking, human trafficking, and it's illegal, guys. So, and so I've encountered these guards in Newtownmountkennedy, and an inspector, one of them was an inspector. There was a superintendent. He just kept ignoring me, walked away. I tried to ask him questions, but they're telling you on one hand that We can't stop these men from coming to work. But the work they're doing is illegal, and the work that the Gardaí are doing is illegal. But the biggest sin for the guards is that we're stopping these guys from coming in to perform this illegal activity, this people trafficking activity, aiding and abetting, let's call it. So, I mean, that's the point. That's the argument I would make. And then we're being told we're trespassing. Well, in actual fact, the trespassing element of it is that the government, our taxpayers' money, is paying for these direct provision centres out of our taxpayers' money. That's out of our coffers. We're paying for these places. We're paying these facility managers, the David Mooney's and the Hallinan guys or whatever, whoever they are. We're paying the money. The money is going into. They're not private property. They're properties that we're renting. The Irish people are renting, and they're just facility managers. So my argument from a legal point of view is that we're not, how could you be trespassing on government-owned, the people own these sites and are paying for these sites? So we should have a right to be able to go in and inspect them and view them if we want to, and ask questions of whoever's in there, whether it's management, facility management, and whether it's these fake UGs. So that'd be my take on that and the legal side of it. They're trying to prosecute me for trespass up an inch now. This is the latest charge I've gotten there a couple of weeks ago, anyone who didn't hear. But there's there was a hotel there the 18th of May last year, and I went in there. They were turning it into a direct provision centre, and I went in and to speak to the owners or the managers to get a comment, to ask them a few questions about what's happening in there. I got approached by a guy who said he was Ukrainian, he could hardly speak English, a big high-vis jacket with no IPA or whatever they call it, security badge, and no ID. And then and he wouldn't tell me who he was, and he was telling me to leave, and I was like, "Who are you? I don't know. You can't tell me." And the whole thing is videoed. There was another girl came out. She told me to leave. I asked her, was she management, and she said no. So this has all become now and there's a hotel written over the door. There was no gates on it. The wall is about 2 foot high. There was nothing saying private property, but yet the guards now, and somebody has decided a year later to send me a summons for what would you call it, trespassing and putting somebody in fear. Whoever the somebody is, I don't know, but the questions put them in fear. I don't know. So this is where we are with the law and the guards and everything else. The guards have a choice like everybody else. We all have choices. They can refuse to do, and then if enough of them did refuse to carry out this and involve themselves in this people trafficking scam, they couldn't sack them all. It would bring it to an end, basically. And if they enforce the laws at the borders, the immigration police or whatever, at the borders. But so far, I mean, I'm just disgusted with them. It saddens me to say it. So I don't know. Ninja looks like he's still offline there. Window man, Kevin Dalton. Kevin, how are you getting on? Good to see you the last day. Well, I think we have him back. I think he's back now.
Phil, am I back?
I can hear you.
They're really working overtime on me tonight. They're working on whoever there's in the YouTube headquarters or wherever you're at. You're working overtime, but I'm back, baby.
Come here. Is your laptop in good nick, or is your computer in good nick?
Yeah, it's all in good nick. It's definitely the platform itself. It's always the same. Isn't everything? Not bother here.
Yeah. I got a new laptop recently. Thanks again to everyone who kind of helps me out as well, guys. It's much appreciated, and it helps me get the gear and the mics and the gimbals and the laptops and all that. So much appreciated. But I found it's a world of difference having a new laptop. I think, you know what I mean. But obviously, if you have no signal, there's not much you can do, no matter how good you're.
I don't think it's not even the signal. The signal's bang on it is here. I'm just looking at it as well. I'm running not a bother. It's definitely some messing going on in the background. But just going on what you're saying, because I was listening to you while I was reloading. You're talking about the guards and the complicity with doing what's been done. And it's just my job. I think exactly what you're saying there. When you have a number of people that have to gather together and said no, because here's the thing, and I've said it before on the channel. Like if you were living in, I don't know, Athlone, or it's probably happening to Athlone already anyway. But if you were living in these places and you were thinking, sure, like I'll drive up to Dublin and I'll do a bit of work up there, or I'll drive to Newtownmountkennedy, and sure, it's not going to affect me. it'll soon affect you because it'll be soon brought to your door. And what I mean by that that this sort of stuff is going to happen in your town next. And are you going to want that then? And again, you facilitated it somewhere else. Are you going to be happy then with some of your own colleagues then facilitating it in your town? So that's what I think is hugely important, and it needs to be drummed into people. Now, I understand as well as you do, Phil, that they are making a big push to make sure that they bring in an awful lot of foreign people into the Gardaí, because they know that this is the precarious situation that they're in right now, that if the Gardaí decided, nah, we're not for this. But what I have to say is, like, imagine being a guard, imagine being a number of Gardaí that night, and you already know the numbers, guys, 98.7% with no confidence in Drew Harris, and you don't have the stones to stand together and stand with the Irish people and do what's right. It's incredible to me. It's incredible to me that you actually know a number of 98.7% and you still will not stand with the Irish people. You know that the number's out there. And I mean, this is from people that like to fiddle numbers and change numbers and alter numbers when it suits them. But we know that over 98% now are in support of, well, not in support, but are in total disagreement with Drew Harris. So why are you taking orders from him? It's a crazy thing. It's like, you know, I hear stories all the time, and I like and think.
Breaking up a bit there, Ninja.
It's the football.
It's breaking
like
up
the
again.
Players now are no longer listening to Eric Ten Hag. That means see of everybody. Oh no, here we go again. They're at it again.
Yeah. It's breaking up a small bit there, yeah.
You'll probably hear me now a little bit, I'd say, before it jumps again. I can see it's frozen up the top left-hand corner. You can hear me a little bit, yeah. No, it's frozen up the top left-hand corner. You can see you doing the little weirdy board there now. The little whizzy wheel's gone. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you were 4x4 there, not a bother at all. So like I was saying there, you've got the manager situation you have in football, and it's something to be applicable, I think, here in this country with the people who run the show here.
Yeah. You gone again?
Am I back now? Can you see? Can you
hear
me?
Now, yeah.
Okay. It seems to be whenever I start to get into a chat there, it seems to go brr. So
when we mentioned the old the police force, I don't call them Gardaí anymore. But you know what is extra galling for me, Ninja, is being at these roads, especially Newtownmountkennedy, but seeing it looks like he's gone again for a bit. I'll keep talking, but what really galls me is being part of the protests and filming them and seeing the cops and a lot of them have a lot of they have a lot of glee. They look at you and you're trying to, and a lot of the people, the local people who are ordinary people, are trying to reason with them and plead with them and everything else. And too many of them just look at them and just are laughing at them, and they're looking at their pay slips every week. A lot of them are on massive money. You know, I think the average Garda pay now was it was published recently that with overtime and allowances over the last 3 or 4 years, they're averaging wages of 1,500 quid a week, which is unbelievable, and it's a big incentive to keep doing what you're told. But some of these people, and especially these public order guys, they kind of relish the opportunity to get stuck into, you know, just victims really, and they're knowing like that they're, you know, a lot of elderly people, women and elderly men and all that. I spoke to a guy in Newtownmountkennedy. He showed me the marks on his head, to either side of his head, and the marks on his wrists and his hands where he was smacked by battens. This guy is in his mid-60s, late 60s maybe. Absolute, you know, just they're cruel, and a lot of them are taking enjoyment from it. So unfortunately, I hate saying it, and it's sad to say, but it's part of what we're living in. It's part of the nightmare what we're living in right now, guys. We have a look in here in the chat. Ninja, this is a bad dose of the disconnect for you, but I hope you can still hear me. We're trying to keep it going. Sean Mack, you're in there. A criminal can actually walk through your gates or over your wall into your drive and walk out again. It's not unless he commits an offence, crime, then Gardaí then can get involved. Yeah. But well, especially if you're a foreign criminal, you can do more or less what you want. Ninja's on the way back in for the 4th time. Good man. Letitia Logan, how are you, Letitia? It is a nightmare, you're right. Alan Shatter TD opened Ireland's borders. He has a lot to answer for as well. He set the ball rolling for the second plantation. Never forget. No, they won't be. They won't be forgotten. 100%, they won't be forgotten. Everyone. Berg Power is in there. Gone again. Can hear you. Gone again, Phil. So Ninja is trying to get back in. Can you, Catherine O'Connell? How are you, Catherine? You spoke to me, did you? Excuse me now for not remembering. He's back in, I think now.
4th time. We'll go 4th time. Whoever's working here tonight now is working overtime, I can tell you. So yeah, like you were talking about Newtownmountkennedy there, I'd probably just keep myself a little bit quieter. That's probably why they're kicking me now. They don't want to hear me talking, which is fine. I'm bringing you on. But Newtownmountkennedy, you were talking to a politician that was there, and you were asking him questions, and he stood there staring at you, saying nothing. What was your experience there? And what was your thoughts?
Very funny. The first encounter I had with him, I rocked up there. It was early on. It was a few weeks before the heavy gang guards moved in. So, and I just came up for the first time. Somebody had sent messages to say would I come up. But like most of these rural protests, early on, a lot of people really don't know what's going on. They don't know who's who. They're very suspicious. And there was a few people there kind of suspicious of me, which is grand. You know what I mean? It's normal. I'm used to it. I expect it. And they kind of pull away. They didn't really want to talk or do interviews. I was hoping to get a couple of locals to do an interview, just grassroots people there. But then all of a sudden this apparition comes along, and I asked one of the guys, who is this guy? A well-dressed individual, tall guy. And I kind of knew he had some kind of stature, but he said, oh, that's the local senator, Pat Casey. Mm-hmm. So when he arrived anyway, and Fianna Fáil, and I'm like, he's some neck to be coming up here now with Fianna Fáil or his party enforcing all of this crap on people. And he stands at the gate. So I said, I was with the great Ferg Power, and he was giving me a dig out. And I went over and I said, hey, Phil, my name's Philip, and Citizen Journalist. Do you want to do an interview? And he didn't have a clue who I was. So he said, yeah. And I turned back at the Ferg. I was getting the bag, getting my mic out, and I said, Ferg, wait till you get a load of this. Your man doesn't know who I am. I said he's a Fianna Fáiler. So we were trying to hold in the laugh when I had me back to him. And the next thing, I turned around and I started to speak to him, and he's coming along. He's coming out with the gobbledygook about communication. Oh yeah, I've been trying to get an answer from the minister and all of this, and I haven't heard a response, so I don't know what's going on. We need better communication. And it's like, to me, like, better communication to do what? To tell people that they have to take these people in. So after he put up a bit of spiel, I just said, listen, your party are in favor of this. Like, your party are making this kind of thing happen, and he said, yeah, well, we have international obligations. We have obligations to take these people in. Like, so he stood there in front of the crowd that were behind me. There wasn't a big crowd, but enough of locals there. He's actually telling them to their face, after them being there 24/7 peacefully protesting, he's actually telling them to their faces that they have an obligation to take in these chancers into their community, right? So, and one or two people weren't happy that he got hostile with me then when I started to explain to him about Fianna Fáil being part of the whole problem, whatever. The usual stuff. He switched off. So then somebody got annoyed with me because I was asking him these questions and I was causing some kind of hassle, and I'm like, but sure, he's after telling you that you have an obligation, so don't be taking it out on me, like, So, and then it came. It was the next week or two later that the heavy gang moved in with the guards, and that was the kind of rude awakening. And I met this lovely girl up there. She was really new to what's going on. She hadn't much information about what the actual government are doing around all of this and their policies and everything else. And she was asking me some great questions. I won't mention her name. She knows who she is, and she said to me afterwards, "Listen, fair play to you. Thanks for answering me questions." So, but they were really relevant, pertinent questions that, I kind of was delighted to hear them coming from just an ordinary local lady concerned mother, and there were logical questions like, so yeah, she contacted me then a couple of weeks later to say what the guards had done. They'd come in the middle of the night, they'd moved all the staff in under guard escort or whatever, and that the locals now were going to try and do something to prevent. And it was kind of very demoralizing as well for the woman. And I kind of said to her, look, I mean, you're up against, see, people don't understand how massive the scale of what they're up against here with the NGO complex, the media complex, the government complex, the EU policies that are pushing all of this, and the dark people that are behind it all as well, the money people. And they don't get it, and it's very difficult for them to comprehend it. But again, they learned, a lot of people in Newtown learned very quick. And if there's one great thing that happened here, I mean, it's kind of united the community up there. And 95% of the people now are on board with trying to save their community from this. They couldn't lose because they fought the good fight, as far as I'm concerned. They won a battle of awakening and creating an awareness in this country, that's bringing it on to another level again. We've had previous towns and instances, but this was another rung in the ladder where people have we've reached more people now that have seen the tyranny that we're living under now, like, you know what I mean? And that's all it can be described as far as I'm concerned. So it was a great experience. I come back to Newtown, and on the Sunday, the live stream, we had over 30,000 people. Somebody said that Derek, I was telling me 33,000 at one point were in the live stream. And just watching that live in Newtownmountkennedy, like the interest around the world it's generated, and that the reception I got there from everybody practically. And we had a shitstorm, let's call him, from the journal.ie, Owen Dalton. And this is another thing. Keep saying your prayers, guys. See, an old prayer every day, goes a long way, in my opinion. But this guy individual had emailed me the night before, and this was last Friday. I think it was just last Friday gone. And the Thursday night he emailed me looking for a comment that he had spoken to one or two people in Newtown that said I was a far-right agitator that didn't want me around. Now, not one person, if you saw the two live streams on the Saturday and Sunday, not one person came up to me and said they didn't want me around. I mean, I got nothing but thank yous from everybody. On the Sunday, I went down to the town. I stayed, actually, the night in Newtown, went for a few beers in the pub. I hardly had to buy a drink. The welcome I got from the people there was off the charts. And I met some wonderful guys there, and I heard some stories that, some of them disturbing, but just real life people that they've woken up, and they've seen now firsthand that what the government are prepared to do. They will crack your skull if you go against them. But as I said, it's something I think that now we can build on and go from strength to strength. I mean, I'm hoping to get to Ballina tomorrow and trying to cover what they're going through. I think I'm hearing rumors that the police, I call them, are starting to build up a presence in there, and security guards are putting I forget the name of the hotel, the Two Seas or Two Stars Hotel or something, but it's looking like it could get heavy-handed over there as well. So as I said, I wish the people in Ballina the best, and I'll try and expose it myself as best I can, and hopefully a few people will be willing to speak to me there, and we'll just put the world attention now, if we have to, on Ballina. So I'm going to give that a shout tomorrow. I mean, I'm not stopping. People say your campaign I think my campaign, I think the best way to campaign for me is to be with the people and out there supporting them, telling their story and getting their story out to the world, and try to expose what's happening to them.
That's why I have Lomza Unfiltered that's saying there that he's your constituency there that you're going to be running in is in his area, and he hasn't seen any posters up yet. Yeah. So you're going to basically go through your campaign as much as possible through social media and like that on Twitter. Like I have your channel linked in the description down below there. Your Philip Dwyer _MOY on Twitter. So if anyone wants to follow Philip, I humbly would ask you to do so. It's well worth a follow, and you'll see all of the stuff that he's talking about over there. But that's what basically the campaign you're going with at the moment is more of a social media driven one, is it?
Yeah, I mean the posters. Like my experience with running for the National Party back then, our posters were all taken down all over the country. We went to the guards, numerous times. Looked for it, where we could see clearly there was CCTV cameras overlooking these posters, and we kept getting told that we can't get the cover or the footage or whatever. So you get no backup from the guards with this. The media wouldn't report. Our local newspaper at the Tala Echo, they wouldn't report. I rang them and I said, my posters have been taken down. Are you going to report on it? If it was Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, it'd be headline news all over the place. RTE would be all over like a rash. So I think if I put up posters, they'll just take them down. The brigade, the left wing thugs. So I might have a few. I might have a handful going around, but it'll be mainly me online. I'll be going around giving out leaflets and canvassing. I'll be knocking on doors for the locals elections in Tala, and please God, we'll get the message out that way. But the posters part is to me is a bit of it'd probably be a waste of energy and time and money if they are taken down. And you're not going to get anyone like support from the guards.
The canvassing side as well is important, and like that as well. Like you were saying earlier on, you made a mention of the email for people to email you to for helping you out canvassing, and that's hugely important. Like knocking on doors and talking to people, because you're seeing a lot of videos where people are being ran from doors now from different parties, and it'd be nice change of scenery for people to knock on the door and say, "Oh, what's the story here? Yeah, I'm all on board with you," and effectively as well. Like the EU, it was let slip by Sean Kelly not too long ago that an awful lot of the decisions that are made here in Ireland are made by the EU. So that is why, like I know some people are just like, why is Philip not waiting until Dáil positions come up in the TD? You're effectively administrator there in the Dáil. Not that I'm saying that you shouldn't run as a TD or go towards that. What I'm saying is, it is very effective to get into Europe. Look at all the heads that are trying to get into Europe. You've literally got Africans and Indians that are running here in our country to get into Europe. And for what reason do you think they're going there? I mean, they're going there because they know what the story is.
Yeah,
we need people to be going over there to get out of the EU.
Look, I mean, it kind of makes you. I don't know. I came out of my place there the other day, and the first thing I saw was two election posters from our friend who doesn't know the gender of his child. His partner, Spear, I think her name. She's from San Francisco apparently. Who doesn't know the gender of her own child either apparently. Who's said to me on a live stream when I went to try and get into one of their public meetings, Murphy sent out his pregnant wife to the marauding far right who were trying to gain access to their meeting, to tell me can't come in. But she admitted to me there that she was an out-and-out communist. So we all know what communism did, guys, back in the day. It's responsible for the death of hundreds of millions of people. It murders people who who disagrees with them. So that's what she's openly said. And then we had another guy, Pepperoni or Pepperdom or something like that was his name, from whatever, Bangladesh or Pakistan. I don't know. But I mean, are you trying to tell me that these people have the interests of the Irish people at heart? No, they're going to be pushing for more mass migration and bringing in their families and friends and getting them all the free stuff at the expense of the Irish taxpayer. But Ninja, I have to check out now. If you don't mind, I'm under pressure here.
I'm going to jump on and just have a couple of things started here. Just a few people are asking questions. If you don't mind, is that all right?
No bother. Yeah. Go for it.
So just give me a sec there. Erda only B1014 says only ethno-nationalism will do. Anything less than that is a concession which renders our succeeding generations in harm's way of foreign aggression. Nona Murdoch says Ireland's where the heart and Shamrock. Fergus Power's in here as well, the base Fergus Power.
Yeah,
a very good evening to you all. Beautiful Patriots, just back from putting up the rest of my posts. I'm delighted with them. They really stand out. God bless all here and in this fight. Erda Gabra. I absolutely love to see it, and I hope he's elected 100%. He's another good soul. Erda only B1014 says Philly coming back to YouTube.
Maybe a cooking channel I put up because I'll pull it down if I get into politics.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You could talk a lot of shit on the cooking channel to be.
Yeah, I'll bring you on one of the days when we get through this, and you can cook a bolognese or something.
100%. Yeah, that's all it'd be good for anyway. But Card De Leona X says, "Oh, lovely, YouTube stayed stuck on the waiting screen until I reloaded the page." be the YouTube. Yeah. So it's not only me, but people probably be reaching out to me afterwards, like they always do. I'm like, I never got a notification. Listen, you know what the story is. It's 8 o'clock every second week now, anyway. So like, unless I put out a statement, Refusing Sean says Bog Trotter is a great chat with Ben Scallon. Good to hear that. Been seeing that Bog Trotter guy as well, and it's he's doing some good work that's out there. Ben Scallon doing some good work also, so it's keeping the pressure on from various different angles, which is hugely important. Steve Dixon in here says 30k direct provision. Now that's a seriously scary number. That's not good because that's a heavy amount of heavies there running
it's
around.
Bigger than our army and our Gardaí combined.
Make you think, wouldn't it? It'd make you wonder. Pam's Doodle says super sticker. Rocket sends a super sticker. Armchair Limerick National says sound for the stream ninja. Sound Phil. A lot of love for Phil here in the chat. It's brilliant to say. I absolutely love it. Yeah, listen, Phil. I'm hoping to have you on again as well before the elections. I was talking about with a couple of others having like a right wing Justice League stream or something like on here where there'll be like 6 or 7, but I'll have to probably buy new equipment or something between now and then to make sure they don't mess about with it. But look, I really appreciate you coming on. You're running in the Tala area, is that correct?
Tala Central, yeah, and then Europe, yeah. So, yeah, look, I appreciate. I love what you're doing, Ninja. You should be doing a Friday night stint on art. If we had a proper country, the likes of yourself would be a top candidate for a job like that. But everyone that tunes in, I mean, when you're not able to do the stream, you can see the disappointment and hear disappointment on people's faces or on their comments, and it tells you that you're doing something really good, and keep it up. You're just going to keep going from strength to strength, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I'll come back, ask me again, and absolutely delighted to talk to you on your stream and everybody else in the chat. And a big thank you to everybody in the chat, because there's I probably met a good few of you along the way, guys, and it's so uplifting to meet people that are that are coming up to you and thanking you and watching what you're doing, appreciating what you're doing. It just inspires you to keep going. And we're all doing something right here. We know we are, and we just have to keep at it, and we win. We will win. And we've like 3 or 4 years ago, we would never have thought we would be making this kind of progress. And I know lots of streamers and content makers and all that were very disillusioned and everything else. But if you keep telling the truth about what's going on and stand in it and own it, we will have to win. We will win. We can't lose this,
Fully agree with you, and keep telling the truth is absolutely the thing to do. Listen, guys, if you get the chance, reach out to somebody that you know, share this stream with them, let them know Philip is running in the area of Tallaght Central, and tell them to vote for him. I mean, you need to be the guys that need to be out there telling people you need to vote for this fella. You can't just be standing and saying, oh, I hope that they vote for this guy, or oh, I might not make a comment. You need to be the people that need to be out there saying, listen, vote for Philip Dwyer going forward. And that's what's at stake right now. And I believe so. This guy is a good guy, and he's been doing great work for the last number of years. And I do believe that he would be someone that would be absolutely brilliant to be standing in Europe for Ireland. Let's get these people, these leftists, out of these positions. Let's put around in there and let's sort it out and get Ireland back to being what was great about it.
Cheers,
so we'll leave it there, guys. All right. Thanks very much, Philip, again. And I'm going to end the stream there. All right. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks' time. So we'll be dropping some videos in between now and then. All right. Good luck.
Thanks, Emil.